Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Okay, should we start? I think not many are joining, about 30 are there. Should we start?
Yes, ma'am. It was the same strength almost in last class,
In the
35.
Okay, fine. All right. So I hope before you start this class, uh, we start this class. I just want to uh, tell you all that Professor Pradeep Manturgimat, who was teaching accounting and financial management for BCA. He was a faculty of BBA department, and he was with us also. I don't know whether he has taught your batch. Has he taught your batch?
Yes, ma'am. He did.
Yes, ma'am.
Next class.
So unfortunately, he was battling COVID for about 18, 19 days, but he could not overcome it and he lost the battle. Okay, I want you all to just maintain silence for about a minute. Let us pay our tribute, our condolences, and then we will start this class. Okay. All right. Okay. So in the last class, we had discussed uh, cloud computing and we had discussed the security aspect of cloud computing. Okay. So we all know that when a client machine accesses the cloud services over a network, the network could be a private network, intranet, or it could be a public network like internet. But when we are accessing the cloud services, that is when we are storing and saving our data, or maybe we are accessing our files from the cloud machine or from the server machine onto our machine, a network gets involved in the picture. So when a network comes into picture, quite naturally, security of data becomes an important issue. So in last class, we were discussing that a lot of protocols are there, encryption algorithms are there, which secure your data. All right. But apart from that, when we are talking about cloud services, when we are talking about making use of SaaS applications, or for that matter, PaaS, we are making use of that model we are using, then the security becomes even more important. So last class, we tried to discuss these two important points: compliance task prior to SaaS and compliance task post SaaS. Now, what does this mean? Prior to SaaS means before cloud computing applications were introduced into the market. That time also security of data was an important issue. So how they did it? The first few points, the first set of points that are there on the screen is prior to SaaS, before cloud computing became popular, or when there were standalone applications, standalone machines, at that time, how they used to secure their data. The general way, when we have a standalone machine, maybe we have a PC, we have a laptop, and some applications are installed, how do we secure our data? Generally, there could be a user ID, password to log into your machine, whatever is your sensitive data that you identify, and you encrypt it, check where it is being located, or on and often you are going to have auditing that happens for your data to check whether it is compliant with regulations or not. But all this happens at a standalone level. You have to understand the meaning of the word standalone. Standalone means a individual machine which may not be connected to a network, a individual machine on which all the applications are already installed. So you have that individual machine, maybe you have an antivirus running there, maybe you have some encryption algorithms running there, and they secure the data. But when we talk about cloud, naturally a network will come into picture because you have a server and you have a client. So how does compliance have to happen in a SaaS environment or in a cloud computing environment? Once you have some cloud services that you're accessing on your client machine, then not only do you need a simple antivirus or maybe to check whether your data is fine or not, you are going to require proper mechanisms and procedures which will secure your hardware, your applications, the network, as well as the data. So all the components that are there in the cloud environment, all of them are going to be need to be secured. Okay. Apart from this, all your cloud computing applications, they have to come up to a standard. They have to stick to a standard which is called as PCI DSS, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. Now, this is a worldwide standard that most of your cloud-based applications will follow. Now, what does this standard do? This standard will impose certain requirements that should be satisfied by the applications. So tomorrow, suppose you are going to develop a cloud-based application, maybe a payment gateway you're developing, or maybe some kind of a data storage mechanism you're developing. Naturally, it should come up to this standard. Always remember this. So what are these PCI requirements? PCI, that is Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, DSS, imposes four important requirements. One is stopping unauthorized exposure, imposing very strong credential management, keeping track of log records, and last one is reporting. Why? Because the PCI industry demands that when you are going to develop an application which will work on the cloud, there'll be thousands of clients who will be accessing your application. Their data has to remain secure. And you as a cloud provider, you need to ensure that you provide reliable cloud services to them. So in order to implement this, the PCI, that standard, it's basically a document, just like IEEE is a standard or ISO is a standard. So in that document, there's an Appendix A.1.1, which has put about, say, certain requirements which are related to unauthorized exposure, related to credential management, logging, and reporting. Whenever you get a chance and you're Googling something, try to Google this PCI requirements or Appendix A.1.1 of PCI requirement. Now, appendix means one attachment is there to that document which describes what all are those PCI requirements which a cloud application must satisfy. So if you all can see the slide now, what is the first requirement that PCI demands? Your cloud-based application should secure the data as well as the users whatever important credential information is there, all that needs to be secure from unauthorized access. Means only a authorized user should be allowed to have access to his own account, to his own data, to maybe to his own files. Other users should not be allowed access to it. So securing the data from unauthorized exposure is one of the important requirements of PCI. Second one is credential management. Credential management means whenever you are going to make use of cloud services, you have to identify yourself as a credible user, as an authentic user. So your credentials there could be your username, could be your password, could be a PIN number, or could be a OTP number, something like that, which will ensure that you are the right user. Why? Because you're on a network, there can be n number of users who are accessing the network. So how do we identify a authorized user? By checking his credentials. So credential management is also one of the very important requirement of PCI. Unless credentials are identified and established, the user will not be allowed to access the data. So it is going to be imposed upon those applications to check the user credentials and then only allow him to have access to his data. Third one is logging. I was telling you about logging in the last class also. Logging means maintaining a log record of all the transactions that are happening once you have you have been identified as a authentic user. So say for example, you put your username and ID at time, say 9 o'clock. After that, you have accessed your file at some point and maybe you have made changes to it. Then maintaining a record of that file, a record of time when the last update was made, the record of time when you logged into the machine, maybe the record when you have deleted a file or something like that. A record of each and every transaction in which you as a client are involved and accessing the data over the server, a log of that has to be maintained. Now, how will this log be useful? Tomorrow, if something goes wrong with your data, the cloud provider is also saying that we have these log records. Moreover, if you feel there is something fishy from the cloud provider side, you can always demand this log records, and forensics can be established to check. They will help a lot, especially all these cyber crimes that are happening. To overcome that or to identify the criminals in such case, logging can be very, very important. The last one is reporting. By chance something has gone wrong, credentials are not matching, your data has got is crashing or it is failing. In that case, a proper report of it is going to be generated and it should be made available to the user. These are like the rights that the client has got. Okay, because you're going to subscribe for the service, because you're going to pay for the service, so client should have some rights, and he has every right to ensure or to demand that his data remains secure. So PCI requirements, if they are met, most of the cloud applications are said to be secure, and definitely they become more popular than other applications. Okay, now apart from this, whenever we are accessing our cloud-based applications on a client machine, there can be web application breaches also. Now you understand what is meant by a breach. If at all you have set certain requirements to be met, like for example unauthorized access you want to avoid, or you want to check the user's credentials, if at all when you're accessing your cloud application over the web, if something these security options have been breached, someone else has tried to get into the network, a hacker has tried to get into a network, or maybe some other person unauthenticated access is happening, then again apart from PCI DSS, there is one more set of guidelines that can be followed to make your your cloud application even more secure, and that that guidelines or that standard is called as Open Web Application Security Project. So OWASP, apart from PCI DSS, OWASP is a set of guidelines. Guidelines means it's a standard. Again, if you follow, if your application is following those standards, it is more secure. That's it. Okay, so it is a standard and the cloud provider has to stick to it. So suppose you are taking the cloud services from Amazon, then Amazon service provider has to stick to this standard, has to follow these standards. Or suppose Microsoft is providing you cloud services, then it has to stick to these standards. So what are these standards? OWASP is a standard which the cloud provider or the service provider has to stick to it, has to follow it, and it is concerned with compliance and legal issues in different countries. See, different countries have different laws. And since we are now operating in a global market, whenever you develop an application, it should be compliant with most of the countries. But since laws can differ, this OWASP will set certain guidelines which will not only ensure security of data, it will ensure that the client's interests are maintained or the client's interests are taken into consideration. He's a consumer now, he's a customer. So it shouldn't happen that in one country you're following certain laws, so same laws are going to be applicable in other country also. Depending on the country's laws, if at all the breach has happened, if security breaches are happening, how those could be overcome or how your application can come up to those standards has been defined in OWASP. Okay. Now, most of your cloud applications that you are accessing could be accessed over a public internet, or it can also be accessed over a private network, a virtual private network. So what is a virtual private network? All of us have learned in networking. When I was teaching you advanced computer networks, we have learned virtual private networks. Over the internet only, we try to create, of course, internet is a public network. Over the internet only, we try to create a small network in which the cloud vendor is going to be involved, and apart from that the client machines are going to be involved. So there's a virtual connection over which these applications will be accessed. Okay, so when we have a virtual private network, this also we have learned in advanced computer network. Whenever we have a virtual private network, we have most of the networks make use of SSL, that is secure socket layer. I don't know how many of you remember this, but we have learned this. What is secure socket layer? Secure socket layer is a standard, just like OSI reference model is a standard. It's a layered approach. Similarly, TCP/IP reference model is a standard. Like that, SSL is also a standard. And with the help of SSL, we can ensure that the cloud applications are made available to the organization, to the client machines in a secure manner. So there are certain advantages of SSL. Now, what are those advantages? First advantage is SSL does not require any specialized client software. Whenever you are making use of SSL, it comes as a part of your web browser. So most of the time, you don't require any special software for implementing SSL. And it can be, as I said, it can be used with usual browser, with Chrome or maybe with Firefox or Internet Explorer. Very easily you can implement SSL. And in a secure socket layer, we make use of public and private key cryptography. Now, this also we have learned in the previous semester when you were in fourth sem. In advanced computer networks, we have learned what is public and private key cryptography. I think even in cyber security, you have learned about it. So SSL, in short, manages your data, secures your data from unauthorized access, and it makes use of public and private key cryptography. It also, apart from this, SSL will also ensure that the users or the applications comply with organizational policies. So you have to understand there are two levels of security now. One is what is imposed by the cloud provider or by the SSL as a standard, that is at a higher level. And at a lower level, you also have organizational related security mechanisms. For example, suppose our college, we have say about 10 laptops. Then college can come up with a set of guidelines saying that every laptop should have an antivirus. Every laptop should be, the antivirus should be updated every 15 days or maybe in a month. And operating system that we are using on a laptop should be a licensed version. And every time new operating system patches or versions are coming up, those should be already installed. Or we should have some mechanism to check malware or some other type of virus that could affect our machine. So what are we doing? There are two levels now. One is the higher level of security, which is provided as a general standardized mechanism as a part of SSL. And the second level is at organizational level. At our college level, we are doing certain mechanisms. Those can also be implemented using SSL. So SSL will ensure the security of data in a very simple and an inexpensive way, very flexible, and you don't have to do much. Just as you are using the browser, those security options will be a part of your uh, uh, browser. So as and how you access your data, naturally they'll get implemented. And also these, that is, suppose you have installed antivirus, whether it is running or not, that it can check and that it can prompt you. So two layer or double layered security can be provided with the help of SSL. Okay. Now, uh, let me just go back and first tell you what we learned, and then we will try to change the track again. Okay. So what we learned in the past few classes is we have been learning about hardware and infrastructure. I have told you one important hardware or a part of the infrastructure is client. So we have three types of client machine: mobile, thin client, and thick client. Okay. Then we talked about security of cloud-based applications. We get certain inherent benefits since it is a cloud environment. We also learned that as a part of cloud, as a part of SaaS, compliance and auditing happens, and most of your cloud applications will come up to certain industry requirements or industry standards like PCI or OWASP. We know now what is a VPN, and over a virtual private network, SSL can be implemented to secure your data. Okay. So till this, what we learned was basically from the client machine point of view. From client's point of view, what could be the important features or what could be the important aspects of cloud computing. Now, the second important part or second important aspect in a cloud based environment is the network. See, always when we talk about cloud computing, what should come to your mind is clients, the net or the network or internet, and the provider, that is the server. So you have server, you have a network, and you have the clients. All right. Now this network is very, very important because via the network, the data is going to be accessed. The services are going to be accessed. So when we are accessing cloud services over the network, there can be different ways in which we can access. But one, research firm, Gartner, is a very well-known global research firm which does research in different areas, and Gartner has identified 4 levels of networks. Means we are going to access the cloud services over internet or maybe over a network, but how do we access it, or how many ways are there in which we can access the network, in which we can access the internet for our cloud services. That Gartner has classified into 4 categories. One is basic public internet, second one is accelerated internet, third one is optimized internet overlay, and fourth one is site to site VPN. Whichever you think of, the basic plan, the accelerated internet, optimized internet, or site to site VPN, all make use of internet. Okay, you have to understand this. The server will be at a remote location, client will be at some other location, so you are going to require a network. Most of the time it will be internet. Okay, of course you can have an intranet and a very private cloud based service. Like the other day I was telling you, our college decides to implement cloud computing only for our campus, then it becomes a private network. But here in general we are talking about public networks, or maybe we are talking about server at a very distant location, client at a different location, so via network we are going to access it. So middle network that is there right now, let us focus only on public network, and that is internet. What Gartner says is there are 4 different levels of networks, 4 ways in which we can access the cloud services. Which are those? Basic public internet, accelerated internet, optimized internet, and the third one is site to site VPN. Whichever you use, basic, accelerated, optimized, or site to site, all make use of internet. There is going to be internet. Okay. So what is basic public internet? Name itself is suggesting basic public internet means general internet which I and you, all of us are using. Even right now, even when we decide to store our photos or our images on the cloud, what we are making use of is basic public internet, because we are public in general. Now there are organizations whose requirements are very, very high. There are organizations who can afford for accelerated internet. That's a different story. But in general, simple cloud services can very well be accessed over internet, and that is called as basic public internet. I hope you are understanding the meaning of the word basic public internet, the general internet that we are using day to day. Okay, we have data on, and the internet that we use over our phone or maybe at our place, that is basic public internet. Okay, so basic public internet means what? It is providing you basic services. There is not going to be any acceleration. Acceleration means high speed data, advanced applications or advanced techniques are not going to be implemented there. Basic techniques to access data over your internet is available. That is called as basic public internet. So what are its advantages and what are its disadvantages? Advantages that for basic public internet, there's a very huge population who is accessing basic public internet. Most of us, we can't afford accelerated or optimized or site to site. We are general naive users and day to day tasks we are trying to do. So there's a very large audience. Large audience means lot of people are there who make use of this facility, that is basic internet. Now it is fault tolerant. Fault tolerant in the sense, by chance something goes wrong, you can very well recover from the faults and you can start reusing your applications. And for this basic public internet, now again, you understand this. This book was written 20 years back. Okay. So whatever are the contents that are there, they are 20 years old. So they may really not be relevant right now, but still we'll learn them. There are many providers available. Providers means internet service providers. Like in our country, we have BSNL, we have Airtel, or we have Vodafone. All these, Geo, they are internet service providers. So many providers are available for basic services. Many providers are there, and these providers do implement SSL based HTTP. So most of your applications through a web browser, you can access them, and it's quite cost effective, not going to be costly. Of course, you have to pay a subscription fee to access the internet, so cost is there, but not much. Okay, now what would be the disadvantages? It's a basic service, so you're not going to get very high speed data, high quality of service. No, QoS stands for quality of service. So you are going to get basic service, so very high end applications maybe which require very high internet speed may not run. So basic internet applications you will be able to use. Then poor response during high traffic. Now I don't have to explain this. When you are trying to access the internet at a time time of the day when the traffic on the network is high. For example, at night maybe the number of users are less, so your speed is better. But throughout the day, especially during office hours and all that, even if they are even if the service provider is claiming that they're giving you high speed, that may not happen because of high traffic. Now, not traffic on the road, but traffic on the network. Downtime out of control. Downtime out of control means the time for which internet is unavailable. That is called as downtime. Now, if internet is unavailable, can you do anything? It's beyond your control, right? Service provider, maybe a cable has cut, or maybe signals are there's some problem in transmission of signals, maybe they are trying to restore. So during that time internet is not available. When internet is not available, that is called as downtime. Down means the network is down. So during that downtime you can't do anything, you just have to keep quiet and patiently wait till the internet is restored. So downtime is out of your control because you're a general user, you will get all general facilities. Okay, the next one is accelerated internet. All right, now what do we mean by accelerated internet? As the name is suggesting, internet only you are going to access, but at high speed. Now nowadays most of your service provider claim that they are giving you accelerated internet, 4G, 5G, and then you keep on waiting sometimes when the that goes on and on and on. You're waiting for net provider, the service to be available to you. So sometimes it is beyond your control, but still accelerated internet allows you to access the internet at very high speed. So have a look at the differentiation that is there on the screen. Basic internet, what could be the disadvantages, and accelerated internet, what could be the advantages. With basic internet, high bounce rates. Bounce rates means you're trying to access a web page, all the time it is saying either wait, or the web page is not found, or some problem due to high traffic. So page abandonment that can be there, lower conversion rates can be there. Lower conversion rates means you request a page, but it is not, you are not getting the response on your screen. That is called as a conversion rate. So if at all the network speed is bad, you're not going to get access your data very fast. But with accelerated internet, the advantage that you get is speed. Very high speed internet is available. So rich user experience, you're not going to wait, you're not going to get frustrated, your patience is not going to be tested all the time. Very quickly you're able to access the data. Increase engagement and reduce cost. Now increased engagement in the sense, because the speed is better, you are all the time engaged with your machine and your task gets done fast. Because the task gets done fast, your cost of accessing your data is less. Okay, now when we talk about accelerated internet, there's another term that comes into picture, that is called as web acceleration. If at all your internet is fast, all your web applications are going to be quicker. So web acceleration refers to speeding up, that is faster transfer of data or transfer of content between web server and client browser. This is general. If at all your internet is better, from the server you are able to access your data quick. All right. So for the purpose of accelerated internet, to provide you web acceleration, there are certain techniques that are employed. There are certain mechanisms that are employed. That is HTTP optimization, caching and prefetching, compression, SSL termination, and TCP connection management. These 4-5 techniques generally they apply to give you accelerated internet. HTTP optimization, in the sense HTTP protocol is working in an optimized manner. Caching and prefetching means, say for example, you are accessing a particular website on and often. It can be stored in the cache. It can be maintained in the cache. So that already, since it is there, it's prefetched and stored in the cache. Whenever, for example, Google you are accessing on and often, you must have observed the moment you type G, the Google web page is available there. It's cached. And suppose a particular, say for example, Rani Shaman University website you are checking on and often, so it is cached. That means if it is already cached, then getting the content from the server, from that particular server, could be better, faster. SSL termination means sometimes when we implement SSL, since we are trying to secure our data, SSL will impose certain restrictions. So with SSL, maybe the time that you are going to have, the time required to access the web page can be little slower. So if you terminate SSL or you override SSL, then you will be able to access the data fast. TCP connection management, we know TCP, we know that it's a connection oriented protocol. If at all we are managing the TCP connection well, that is internet is managing the TCP connection well, then you are going to save time in getting connected to the server all the time, and hence it becomes faster. So for accelerated internet and for web acceleration, these techniques are generally employed to ensure that you get your applications, you are able to access your applications in a faster manner. Okay. There are 2 more ways which we will learn in the next class, but I hope you people are understanding that for cloud computing services, you require the network, you require internet. So basic public internet you can use, you will get basic services, or accelerated internet you can use, where your web pages will load very quickly and you will get high speed access to your data. Okay, the other 2 we will learn in the next class. All of you enter your attendance and let me know if you want me to explain anything or if you have not understood something. Okay. If you have any doubts, ask me. Clear? Is there anything you want to discuss?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. We'll stop here and we will
Yes,
continue in the next class.